Howdy, Beeflabart, and welcome back. And this should be episode number 11. And primarily what we're going to be doing in this one right here is a lot of cleanup and organization and trying to get it easier to streamline what we're actually doing for switching the weapons back and forth, cleaning up the variables and stuff. Um, I've made a couple changes on my own. I left one that still needs to be done. I haven't done anything with the AK yet, but I've been testing a few things on the Glock and on the MP5 to where, okay, I've got the Glock out, and whenever I go to MP5, it switches and puts it back on there. And it works. It's working for the most part. But what happens now whenever I want to go back to the pistol is it's still not working correctly. The pistol is back on my hip and the MP5 is still there. So what I end up having to do is switching back to the MP5, and it actually then puts it on my back. And then I can draw the Glock and reholster it. So it's working fine by itself. The MP5 is working fine by itself. The AK is working fine by itself. But we just have that one functionality problem of switching it over and then switching it back. So to start getting cleaned up, we've got all this stuff here, and it's not bad. We may or may not be able to keep the flip-flop and may go a different route, but it's working for now. These are the ones that I've got that are cleaned up versions. This would be the Glock itself, and what I've done is, and I'll show you with the AK, but first thing I want to do is I want to come back over here, find where we have the Spawn Glock, and these are going to the hand. So I'm going to rename these functions. It's not going to break anything, or it shouldn't, but all I'm going to do is just click on it twice, and then instead of Spawn G17 two hand, we're just going to put it as G17 in hand. And then we'll do that for each of them here. And we'll do, let's see. No, let's put in front of that, put G17 in hand. We're probably going to change these about a half dozen times. So in the matter of getting everything cleaned up, we're going to put MP5 in hand. And we're going to put AKM in hand. This is just part of trying to get more organized, so as you're troubleshooting things, or at least while I'm troubleshooting things, it's easier for me to come up with the workarounds if everything is named correctly. Excuse me. So G17 to holster. We're just going to do the put in front of that. Put G17 to holster. Yeah, it's tedious. It sucks. But this is one thing you kind of have to get used to. And then we're going to put, and we're putting the MP5 goes to slot 1, the AKM goes to slot 2. This is something that can be done and fixed later on as well. Now, we've got these variables over here. We haven't put in the weapon category yet. That's fine. But we're going to have to rename some other variables as well. We've got G17 picked up, MP5 picked up, and AKM picked up. That's fine. And has G17, that's fine. But looking at some of these other variables, to be able to clean things up a little bit more, like I said, I've created the equip and unequip on each of them as a function so that it can be a little bit cleaner. And we have the is in hand and is in slot 1. We made those a couple of videos back. So what I'm going to do is change these variables. And I'm going to show you how to do it this way. Click it on there. Instead of is in hand, we're going to call this G17 in hand. In slot 1, we're going to left click once on it, left click on it again, and it'll let us edit it directly here. So now we're going to call this MP5 in hand, and then left click on it one time and hit F2. We're going to change is in slot 2, and we're going to change this to AKM in hand. Now, the reason why we needed those is for the equip. I'm setting a variable on the Glock 17 to Glock 17 in hand. So we know that it is in our hand. So since I've already got these two done, I'm going to go up and do the AK. This is the Glock 17 here, and this is the MP5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to this guy. This is the AKM. Now, with these, input action, that's fine. We could end up changing those later so we have a better idea of what we're actually doing with these, but for now they're going to be fine. We know secondary weapon is whatever. We're going to put it into, as you can see, I've already added in on the end here. We're going to end up removing that shortly. So what we're wanting to do here is show you the newer versions. We have the original input action. We have the branch where it's asking, do you have a Glock 17? And when you hit the button, this is where the flip-flop action actually takes place. It's going to ask, do you have an MP5 in hand? And if it's yes, we're going to unequip the MP5, and then we're going to equip the Glock 17. Now, on that same note, if when we come in here and it asks, do we have an MP5 in hand? If the answer is no, then we can go directly to equipping to the Glock 17. So we're going to create the equip and the unequip for the AK, which will help with a little bit of cleaning up as well. So the things that we need here is we need to put in, since we have AKM in hand here, we need to find AKM in hand. We need to get a set node on that, and we're going to go ahead and put that in here. So what we have is, whenever we're getting rid of or we're unequipping the actual AKM itself, I'm just going to drag these down just to get prepared for what we're getting ready to do here. We're getting the spawn node for it, or the spawn functionality for it, and then we're getting that converted into the target for what we're actually going to detach from the component. This actually doesn't matter where you have it attached. It's supposed to just detach that particular unit. It may or may not be the problem that I'm running into right now, but I'll cross that bridge whenever we get to it. So then we're setting the animation to unarmed, and we're telling it to put it in the back. But also, whenever we're looking at it, in the functions, in unequip, we have a destroy actor in here as well for the unequip. So that's something to take into consideration. I'm going to go ahead and leave the tab up for unequip and equip on the Glock so we can see what we're adding in here and taking away. So what we need to do is start off with, come back to where we were working on, the AKM, and let's highlight all of these that are in line. And then to start cleaning this up, we're going to go ahead and right click on it, select collapse to function, and then we're going to name this function unequip AKM. Alright, so now everything is tiled up in there, and we'll go back there and confirm it also. I'm just going to go ahead and close these two for now while we're doing this. And now we're on to set rifle equipped boolean. This is setting the animation mode essentially. So what we're going to end up doing is changing the order of where that fits so that it actually goes into right there between destroy actor and put it in hand. But again, we're going to fix that here shortly. So now that we've gotten rid of that, we can go ahead and grab all these guys. And this is the equip functionality for the AKM. So what I'm going to do is, with all of those selected, I'm going to go ahead and right click, collapse to function, and we're going to call this one equip AKM. Now we're going to come back and fix the rest of the stuff here shortly, but before I do it, I'm going to go ahead and put these in the correct places. Now I can get rid of all of these from the primary weapon selection because we have it now in here, and I'm just going to move that up so that we can quickly copy these over and make it to where they're all on the same line and all the same functionality. Even if they're not working, at least we're going to get cleaned up to where we can then start troubleshooting. And again, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the Glock, which I just put it in the wrong place. We're going to delete that. We're going to grab this back from over here and put it in the handgun. Put it where it's supposed to go. This is the MP5. Grab it all and just drag it up. So we got the Glock 17 in the right place now, and we got the MP5 in the right place. And now we can continue working on the AK so that we get it to match where we are on the other ones. Sorry, my OCD for trying to clean things up is, yeah. Okay, so now that we've got those in here, we've got the equip G17. Now I'm not going to get too carried away because we're going to also need to take the branch, and let's go up here to the Glock 17 and let's start adding it into there before finishing up the AK. Sorry, I'm just jumping around back and forth. So what we're doing is we're checking to see if we have the okay, I'm sorry, this is the MP5. This is the MP5. So we're checking to see if we have a Glock in our hands. Well, we need to do the same thing over here to find out if we have the AKM in our hands. So I'm going to grab these guys, going to drag them over, and then from the faults node, if we don't have a Glock 17, let's go ahead and break these nodes so you know what I'm doing. All I'm doing is hold down Control and left click on those lines just so I can break the nodes. So I'm going to get those guys out of the way. So now we've established that, yes, we do have a Glock 17 in our hands. So at that point, we need to unequip the Glock 17. Awesome, right? So now that we've unequipped that, we need to then equip the MP5. Awesome. Now, if we don't have a Glock 17 in our hands, we need to come over here and run a branch node. And we need to see if we have a AKM in our hands. So we'll come over here and we'll get AKM in hand. We're going to get that node. And we'll do that. And just for the sake of cleaning things up, I'm just going to tuck it down there. Okay, so now that we've checked to see if we have the AKM, and we know that at the end of all this is going to be equip the MP5. That's the end goal. So we're going to equip that MP5. So if it's false, no, we don't have a Glock 17, then it's going to go into this and ask, do we have one of these? If it is false, we do not have an AKM in our hands, then we can go straight to equipping the MP5. If we don't have a Glock 17 in our hands, we can go directly to equipping the MP5. So we can join this false and this false directly to the MP5, the equip MP5. Now, we need to unequip the AKM, and we don't have that node just yet. Not finished out at least, but we need to go ahead and grab the unequip AKM and connect that to the true of that, and then we can connect the end here over to equip MP5. So I know this is kind of confusing, but do we have the Glock 17 in our hands? No. Then go ahead and equip the MP5. Do we have the Glock 17 in our hands? Yes, we do. Unequip it, and then go ahead and equip the MP5. I'm sorry, from the false branch from here, no, we don't have a Glock 17 in our hands. Well, if you don't have a Glock, then do you have an AKM in your hands? If the answer is yes, then get rid of the AKM and go ahead and equip the MP5. If the answer is no, then just go ahead and equip the MP5. So that should finish off this one right here, and it should be good to go. I know, confusing. Alright, well, we'll go down here to the Glock 17, and we'll finish it out, and then we will catch up with the AKM and get it 100% correct to where the rest of them are. So again, what we've done is, well, technically we can go ahead and do this since we have everything in place. So instead of going directly to equip the AKM, we need to run a branch. Alright, so from this branch, and I'm going to go ahead and break this node so we can do it one thing at a time. That branch, we've asked, do we have a Glock 17 in our hands? We can go ahead and do the same thing. And now we can find Glock 17 in hand, get that, connect that up to our first branch. Okay, so from there, do we have the Glock 17 in our hands? If the answer is yes, then we need to unequip the Glock 17. So that's that. If we do not have a Glock 17 in our hands, do we have, and I'll go ahead and drag it from here, do we have, well, we do need to run another branch. Branch, do we have an MP5 in hand? If the answer is true on this, We're going to unequip the Glock 17, and then we're going to equip the AKM. If we don't have a Glock in our hands, and we have an MP5 in our hands, well, then we need to unequip the MP5, and then we need to equip the AKM. However, if we did not have the MP5 in our hands, we can go straight to the equip the AKM. Yeah, it just seems a lot more confusing than it actually is, but and it's not 100% functional just yet. We will get there, I promise. But I'm going to do it in a manner of getting it in a way I think it is best suited. Is it the best overall method? Maybe not. But it will work, and it will be quite functional. So, again, one more time. And unfortunately, for every gun that you add to the game, you're going to end up doing the same thing. So I'm going to drag off this. I'm going to break both of the nodes so we can be on the same page here. And we're checking to see if we have an MP5 in our hands, because this is the Glock here. So if we do have a MP5 in our hands, we're going to unequip the MP5. And then we're going to equip the Glock 17. If we do not have an MP5 in our hands, we're going to run a branch and then ask the question, do we have an AKM in hand? Yeah, I confuse myself sometimes. That's why I went back and renamed these to in hand and that kind of stuff. So if I do not have the AKM in my hands, then I'm going to go ahead and equip a Glock 17. However, if I did have an AKM in my hands, I'm going to unequip the AKM. So I can connect that to there. And then once I unequip it, then I can go ahead and equip the Glock 17. I really hope you can follow that. It took me a while to get caught up to this point here, because there's just little things, little nuances that really will drive me crazy until I actually get it. And I don't like for something to defeat me, and I don't like doing things the way that everybody else does. I don't want to just go to somebody's tutorial and copy it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how you learn. So I'm going to go ahead and compile and save. And then we're going to go ahead and get back to fixing the equip AKM. And I'm going to copy that from how I did my equip MP5. Okay, so inside my equip MP5, I'm going to clean it a little bit. We have detach from component first. So let's go ahead and break that node. This is the function for setting our animation state, essentially. It says we have a rifle equipped, or we have a pistol equipped, or we're unarmed. So that's what that says. So now we can go directly into our detached component, and then we have a destroy actor, and we're using that off of the equip MP5, or the equip mode. So let's go ahead and break this. Let me move this out of the way. Now with the equip MP5, you see we have destroy actor here, and let's go ahead and get equip Glock 17. It's going to be the same thing. So we need to destroy actor. From that, and we can quickly just get a copy of the equip AKM, link that into here, so that we're actually going to destroy the AKM. Otherwise, it will sit there and keep trying to do it over and over and over again. And this is where we're going to set our animation to rifle by using the set rifle equipped boolean. And then we can go ahead and use the put AKM in hand and set AKM in hand to true. So that's good to go. That's all of our stuff for equip AKM. I'm going to go ahead and compile, save, close equip AKM, and equip MP5. Now we want unequip AKM and unequip, we'll just pull the Glock 17. There's no real big difference. They're all the same. So again, we have the detach from component here. So we'll have that first. Then we need the destroy actor. Now see, I did destroy actor a little bit differently. It doesn't really seem to matter right now. So I'm going to copy it the way that I've got for the Glock 17. I'm going to put the animation mode right at the end of the detach from component. And then I'm going to destroy actor. And that'll be getting equip AKM. Now, why are we doing it like this? Why are we telling it to destroy actor and all this junk here? Okay. To explain what's going on with the unequip function, we are getting the reference to the actual spawning of the actual item itself. And from that, we're detaching it from any component that's on us, on the mesh. So we're getting rid of it out of wherever. I mean, out of our hands, out of our back, whatever. And then we're setting our animation here to unarmed animations. And technically this should be probably between destroy actor and put the AKM to our back. But like I said, we'll cross our bridge if we need to. But since we're unequipping it, we're saying to go ahead and destroy it. We want to get rid of it out of the world so it's not taking up virtual space. And now we're telling it to spawn it to our back, to our in this case, the AKM is going to go to slot 2, the MP5 to slot 1. The Glock 17 would then go to holster. And that way, we're getting it out of the world. Because the problem that I was running into in the previous video was whenever you drew the pistol out and decided you were going to holster it again. Okay, it got rid of it out of your hands and it reappeared back on your holster, but it just vanished into nether space. The actor component actually still stayed there, so every time you're switching weapons back and forth, you're adding a new invisible actor to the world. And if you've got 50 people inside your world and they're all switching weapons back and forth, your actor count is going to climb really, really high, really, really quickly. Alright, so that's got all of those like that. And I'm going to go ahead and do a save all, just because for some reason it's saving or making a change to the map and the green player, since we're actually using the green player. So now we can go grab our Glock. We can grab the MP5. We can grab the AK. And yes, the locations they're putting on are still hideous. You know, it doesn't matter. You can put them wherever you want. You can stick them out your butt if you like, if that's what you want. I won't judge. So here's where we're running into the issue. And we'll have to work on this for the next video. This one was mostly just for cleaning up things and getting a little bit more organized. So as I'm running around in the unarmed state, everything is good to go except for weird animations. I'm going to equip my pistol. Now I can run around and whenever I stop, bang, it draws it back out again. Well, I want my AK. So I hit the number 2. It puts the Glock back on my hip and throws the AK in my hands. Well, I want the MP5. It puts the AK on our back and it puts the MP5 in our hands. Well, I want the Glock. Why? Why must you vex me so, Unreal Engine 4? Um, what's happened here is, for some reason, I told it to go back to the Glock, and instead, it went to the unarmed animation just fine. But it did not re-equip the Glock in my hands, so I hit the 3 again, and then it pops it up. And then I can put it away. But then if I want to go back to the MP5, then it's telling it to spawn it back on our back whenever we hit the key. I don't know if you saw it blink just then. Then I'm going to hit it again, and it takes it off my back and puts it back in my hands. Now, it will still work just fine if I manually put it back on my back and then draw the Glock, manually put it away. But the whole point of this was being able to go from the Glock to the MP5 to the AK back to the MP5. And see, it put it back on my back, but it didn't put it in my hands. So if I hit it again, now I can go to it, or I can go from MP5, AK, and now both of them are in my hands. So we still have a few bugs to chase down. It's just going to take a little bit of organization. It's like a big puzzle, trying to fit all the pieces together in just the right place. But we'll start tackling more of that in the next video. This has probably gone on long enough, and I know you probably don't want to listen to me. And not to mention, it's almost 2:30 in the morning on Christmas morning, so I am going to call it quits for the night. I hope at least there was some useful information for you in this video for cleaning up things, creating your functions by just dragging a bunch of things together in a group and then collapse to a function. That to me is quite helpful, because I can condense the unequip or all these different things into little small individual components. So it's easier to shuffle the pieces of the puzzle around, and it's easier for you to go in there and look at those pieces of the puzzle in depth and find out if those are actually the right pieces for that puzzle. So hopefully, like I said, and doing it as functions is one way, and I probably could have done everything as custom events, but either or will work, and I may end up going all custom events or all functions. Not exactly sure just yet, but this works. This just about has us exactly where we need to be, and we're getting there. And to me, this is a lot cleaner looking than the way it was before, whenever you had to look at the the detached from component, this huge box right here, at least twice. And then when you start talking about unequipping multiple different weapons, especially when you're looking right here, is I'm telling it to unequip the MP5 here, I'm telling it to equip the G17, unequip the MP5, unequip the G17, unequip the AKM, and equip the MP5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 times you would have seen that detached component, because for each one of them, each one of these is telling the pistol to, if I'm drawing it from my holster, I have to delete it from the holster and then spawn it into my hand. Whenever I want to put it back in my holster, I have to delete it from my hand and spawn it back in my holster. This has to happen for every weapon you put into the game. If I've got the MP5, I want to use it, I take it off of my back, I have to delete it from my back and spawn it into my hands. Now when I want to put it away, to say pull out my pistol again, I have to delete it from my hands and spawn it on my back. And then I have to spawn it, it's just a never-ending cycle of all these things you got to do. So you keep shuffling these puzzle pieces around and you'll eventually get it. And that's what I'm doing, is trying to get all these puzzle pieces cleaned up and neat and organized so that we can have it highly functional and looking good. Alright, well, thank you for watching. Again, happy holidays, and please feel free to ask any comments. Prefer that you join me on my Discord channel, the BFloatBart Gaming Discord channel. If you need the link to it and you can't find it in my other videos, then I will link it in the description, and we'll get you in there and you can ask as many questions as you want. And we'll wish you a good evening, and we'll see you next time.